In this video we'll have a look at Wingate 7, what it's for and what it does. Wingate 7 is software that manages your connections to and from the Internet. Wingate 7 provides complete Internet connection management for networks of all sizes, from the biggest enterprise networks to the smallest home office networks. Integrate Wingate 7 with your existing network infrastructure, or use it as a standalone application to manage all of your networking needs. Use Wingate 7's powerful new flowchart policy system to design policies for total control over Internet traffic. Keep an eye on Internet access and system activity with the real-time activity screen, timeline, and dashboards. Reduce your bandwidth costs with highly scalable multi-volume web caches. Make life easier for your network administrators with improved logging support, notifications, scheduling, automatic updates, and context-sensitive in-product help. And reap the rewards of improved connectivity with Active Directory services, databases, and remote offices. Wingate started life as a web proxy, and at its heart that's what it still is, albeit the coolest, most capable web proxy around. We'll start off at the Services panel, where services are configured, installed, or removed. The www proxy properties allow us to configure the port the proxy will run on, different authentication options, filters like AV scanning with the Kaspersky AV for Wingate, or web caching or activity. Other configuration options like bindings, gateways, intercepts, reverse proxy, and logging are all here, including events. Events have been opened right up in Wingate 7 to provide access to as many different decision points as possible. We can see that the www proxy service has registered all of these events, and each one of these events allows you to take action every time they are triggered. This is the reason why Wingate 7 is so incredibly powerful. While we're here, if I double click an event, I can see how that event gets processed. In this case, the proxy request event, which occurs whenever a client on the network sends a request to the proxy server, is processed by the policy system. And I can double click the policy item here and open the policy that processes that event. And we'll come back to the policy system soon. First, let's have a look at the other event processor that we see here, which is web activity. Web activity is basically a system that processes the web traffic and turns it into usable data. Other modules like the timeline then use that data. If you think of going to a news website, there are typically hundreds of separate page requests that the browser makes to load a page. If the timeline tried to present all of these separate requests, it would quickly become very hard to see meaningful activity. So web activity processes the requests and presents them as all part of the initial page request, and then the timeline can show just the request to the original site. The timeline presents a record of web and system activity, and we can scroll back and forth through the timeline and then zoom in to get a closer look. As the data is stored in a database, we could also run queries in a database editor to generate reports. Remember those hundreds of web requests we talked about? Well, Wingate 7 provides a significant improvement in bandwidth consumption and internet response time with a scalable multi-volume web cache. Cache volumes can be distributed around the network, and the cache index can be stored on any ODBC compliant database system. Let's go back to the policy system now and have a look at a basic web access control policy. When the web proxy receives a proxy request, it passes the request parameters into this policy. Using a series of decisions and policy elements, this policy provides less restrictive internet access outside of work hours and also provides for whitelisted users and IP addresses. Extending this policy is simple. For example, if I wanted to have a global blacklist that no one could access at any time, I can simply drag on a new data list lookup, choose my request parameters, specify the list to check against, and hook up the policy elements. Now all requests are checked against my blacklist before proceeding through the rest of the policy. As you can see, the flowchart policy system makes designing powerful, sophisticated policies very easy. Notice the Apply Restrictions element. That is really a simple Boolean check on the Global Data panel. Currently it is set to true, but changing that value would disable that decision in the policy. We can also change that value from the dashboard by clicking the Restrict Sites button. So certain policy decisions can be controlled from the dashboard. We could then set up some permissions to allow someone to log into the administration console and have access only to a relevant dashboard. So we could allow a team leader to have control over whether his team has policy restrictions in place or not. Let's go back to the dashboard and have a look at some of the other things that we're currently monitoring. Here we can see web requests per second, our web bandwidth, our SMTP connections. We can see our cache bandwidth and the cache boost, which is currently at 12%. We can disable the cache, we could purge the cache or reset it. We can see the wingate memory, we can see the CPU usage for the wingate server, and we can see the number of licenses in use. Dashboards can be added or modified to display a whole range of different things. In fact, if we have a look at the monitoring panel, we can see all of the different data sources and data that are available to be monitored. And let's have a look at one of those data items. This is a performance counter that tracks the wingate memory usage. The data published here is displayed on the dashboard as wingate memory. Notice the threshold checking. This is set to trigger an incident if a specified threshold is reached, in this case if wingate memory exceeds 200 megabytes. The incident is called wingate memory issue, and we can choose our notification plan from the drop-down plans list. Currently it's set to critical plan. If we go to notification settings and have a look at critical plan, we can see that when this plan is enacted, there is a 30-second delay and then an SMS message is sent. If we look at the notification handler policy and open the SMS notification, we can see the message that is built and then sent to the admin SMS recipient. So as you can see, notifications can be incredibly useful for keeping up to date with what is happening on the server. You can configure new notification plans for different events and choose different ways of notifying recipients based on the event. Notification plans allow for automatic escalation or cancellation of notifications. So if the wingate memory came back down inside its threshold, Wingate could SMS the administrator and let them go back to bed at 3 o'clock in the morning instead of driving into work urgently. Speaking of making life easier for the network administrator, the scheduler and the update system will help with that too. The scheduler can be used to automate a whole range of tasks, such as rolling over log files, cleaning up the cache, and updating the antivirus signature files. If we look at the Reset IP Counters event, we can see the Processing button, which displays the event to be processed. In this case, it's a policy that resets some DNS counters. The new Updater service in Wingate displays installed and available products and provides customizable updating options and allows for automatic installs. So put all of that together with the dynamic in-product help that updates as you move around, and you've got what is probably the most powerful, capable, and helpful web proxy available today. If you'd like to try Wingate 7 for yourself, simply activate a 30-day free trial during installation. Make sure you watch the tutorial videos on our YouTube channel for more tips on getting the best out of Wingate 7, and if you have any questions or need any help, contact a sales partner near you or send us an email and we'll be in touch. Thanks for watching.